Comes Milwaukee, Forbes, another three. Oh, no! This is the Random Scrub Heat Podcast.
Welcome back for the first episode of the Random Scrub Heat Podcast of the 2024, I can't talk, 2025 season. I'm your host, LJ Cascon. George died in Australia, so he's not here anymore. We have Hot Take Harry and the king of the basement, Royal A. Shepherd. He wanted to be on this podcast. He asked to be on the inaugural episode of this season because he was upset that we hadn't done an episode yet because me and Harry don't want to talk about this fuck-ass team. But we are still here, and the Miami Heat currently hold a record of, 3-4, if I'm not mistaken. They just lost. We're potting the day after they just lost in Phoenix. I want to kind of gauge the vibes here, see how you guys are feeling about the Miami Heat being 0-4 against every single playoff team they've played, and 3-0 against every lottery team they've played. So, listen, I don't drink a lot of tea, but I read a lot of leaves, and there's something going on there. How do you guys feel so far about a very, very questionable 3-4 record? Harrison.
I honestly can't believe I'm here. I told you guys that I wasn't coming back if Hero was still on the team, and I was holding strong. And then I was getting these text messages, and I thought they were like political texts, and there was like disaster, please. They were just, all these one, and I was like, how can I get more political text? And I started actually reading them, and it was LJ reaching out to me. He had to know how I was feeling about this team. I started getting very small increments of money in via Zelle. And I was just trying to determine what was going on. LJ was begging me to come back. So I'm here for you guys. I'm not here for me. And I'm certainly not here for this team. I felt bad, honestly. And I didn't want any more texts. And I showed up. In terms of the team itself, I mean, we're in some disgusting, hellish, seventh circle of hell. I mean, this is my worst nightmare. We've talked about it a lot. I'd rather win 4 games out of 82 and be tanking for a draft pick than be in the 6th year of this garbage. And nothing's changed. Spo's still a disaster with the rotations. The team is not well constructed. Even if Hero plays well, they don't win because he's not someone who can excel while everyone else does. And the moves the Heat have made or have not made have all been wrong. I can't think of one thing they've done right. And I'm tired, man. I'm just tired.
I can hear it in your voice. And I just want to clarify, I was texting Harry a lot saying, please donate to the cause to make the Miami Heat great again. And he didn't want anything to do with it. I said, can we please fund Tyler Hero? Can we fund his contract, please, and get him off the team? And then Tyler said, shut up, bitch, as he continues to have a very strong, efficient start to the season. And it's funny because you wonder why Bam and Jimmy have been bad. And we'll get into all the nitty gritty of it all. But the fact of the matter is they formed the offense so far around Tyler Hero and Terry Rozier, and Tyler's making the most of it and looking pretty damn good. And then weirdly not horrible on defense, which is all you can really ask from him. Terry has no fucking excuse because they're tailoring it to him and he still sucks. So it's not exactly sure what's going on. Royal, do you have any idea what to make of what we've been watching? And of course, how are you doing?
First of all, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, guys. When I watch this team, bro, I'm reminded of a Bruce Lee quote, be water. Okay? I don't try and fight what I'm seeing with my narratives. I'm just going with what's happening right here. Okay? Tyler Hero is the best player on the Miami Heat.
Don't clip that. No one clip that.
Full stop. No, clip it. Clip it. Full stop. That's it. Like, agreed. That is my personal hell. Okay? Like, that is where I am. That is my own personal hell for Tyler Hero to be the best player on the team because he's doing everything that I've bitched and moaned about throughout his career. Playing off ball, being more of a catch and shoot player. You know what I mean? Playing off of a bent defense, like allowing the game to come to him. That has been the only redeeming quality of this season. Terry has been an abomination. So, like, again, that trade was horrible. I don't care how many people try and justify like moving Kyle Lowry in the first round pick for Terry Rozier. 1-for-1, yes, he is a better. Is he a better player than Kyle?
He was with the Hornets. He's not. Ever since he threw on that Miami Heat jersey, he hasn't been.
It has been rough. But like, I just kind of for this season, I came into it with no expectations. There's no way for them to really make me upset because I already know what's going to happen from game to game. I feel like Miss Cleo in a sense, where it's like I can see the outcome of the game from at the tip off. So like, it's pretty hard for me to get upset. But you know, there are a few wrinkles in there. I did not expect to see Kel'el Ware play at all, like for most of this season. Got a little bit of that last game. I kind of anticipated Larson minutes, Pele, I don't know how to say his name, but Larson minutes. I anticipated some of those. Didn't know how they would manifest, but it seems like he's our backup point guard. Like I feel like that's where this is trending. Drew Smith is with the G League team. Josh Richardson sucks balls. Like it. He's the only guard left to play. So like, and he's been cool, you know. Bam has been fucking horrible. Jimmy, he's proven to everybody on this panel why he did not deserve that contract and why he probably won't earn the contract that he's looking for, at least from Miami. Like, I don't think Miami should give him that money. But like overall for the season, the new offense does not new offense very often. It reverts back into the same offense that we've seen. We're going to get into some of the other issues that are recurring themes with this roster. But overall, like, I'm not allowing myself to get upset by what I'm watching because I've seen it before. I'm just being water, you know, going with the flow, and whatever comes of this comes of this.
That's really elegantly put, because why fight something that you have no say over? We can bang the desk all day long, send off trade machine tweets like Harry loves to do. It's not going to make a difference. Like, accept reality. I hate to say it, but I mean, it's been beaten into the ground. But Tyler Hero is shooting 50% from the field. He is getting to the rim at will, and they're still losing. So it's like, Hero's playing good. I wouldn't even blame. It is a very funny stat. They're like 11-30 or whatever when Hero drops 30 points or whatever that record is. That's really funny because it fits a narrative and it's genuinely just like it's an insult stat, basically. Even though I don't think it's Hero's fault that they're losing these games, but it's still, they're losing them when he has a good game. So it's funny to point to. But
not now. Like, it's not Hero's fault now.
No, this season is last year. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Usually it was atrocious.
Correct. Usually when he does that, like, it's because he's hijacking the offense, kind of forcing things that are counter to what the team wants to do. But I feel like he's been doing exactly what they asked of him. He's been excelling in his role, and they still are fucking losing.
in all 7 games, he's been their best player in all 7 games.
I'm disgusted, LJ. I'm disgusted, LJ. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel when I like the way Tyler Hero's playing basketball.
Maybe, if anything, it'll. You know what? No, I was going to be optimistic. I'm not going to even say it. I'll say it. I'll say it for the sake of the audience because they might want to hear. I don't know if they like being edged. That's okay. I don't think. Does that make the front office, raise an eyebrow at all? Saying, "Oh, Tyler Hero's playing great. We've been healthy. We still look like shit." Do we make a move? Because Jimmy's not moving. I saw a highlight on Twitter last night of Jimmy the first time he played Phoenix with Miami. That dude was moving differently. He was attacking from the top of the key, shimmying, putting the ball on the floor one time, picking it up, carrying it over, and going to the rim. Where's that? Like, he's 35, he's 36. Like, he's old. He doesn't move the way he did 5 years ago, and it's adamant. You don't notice it just because you've been gradually watching him over the last couple of years, or if you notice it, you don't see how insane of a drop-off it's really been. But I'm telling all of our listeners, go back and watch Jimmy's first season with the Heat and how he was moving on offense. He still gets in the passing lanes on defense. He knows how to read a defense because when you get older, you understand things better. He understands the mechanics of the game. He knows how to play defense efficiently, whether or not that's just chesting up and guarding the biggest dude anymore or the other team's best player, because he doesn't do that anymore. That's still Bam's duty. But he's not the same on offense. His contract expires. A team like Houston or Golden State, this is the last time you are going to get a good return for a declining star. Miami Heat take note. Please.
Are we getting a good return though? Like I don't feel
Better than
like,
what we would get if we re-signed him and tried to offload that dead contract.
yeah, I feel like you and I have been passing the ball back and forth a little bit, so I'm gonna throw this to Harry. Like, are we getting a good return on kind of like Jimmy Butler? Because I don't feel the impact that like he usually has, even when he's playing casual, like he has some level of impact. These games, he doesn't feel impactful at all. Like last game, he scored 27, and it still like didn't have the same kind of like force, or I don't know what word to use there. But Harry, like, where are you on Jimmy Butler? Like, do you feel like he's kind of lived up to kind of what we were promised?
Well, I actually think probably the only smart thing the Heat has done recently is not sign him to this max contract. He's not a max player anymore. Whether it's an effort issue or the injuries are finally catching up with him, as we talked about, he's gotten hurt in some capacity every single year with the Heat. Whether it's an ankle injury, whether he's fallen on his tailbone and missed 2 weeks, then there were playoff injuries where he just kind of, some were more unfortunate, but his body's kind of broken down every season. And I think it's caught up to him. He's an older guy. He's, carried the team on his back through 2 long postseason runs. Like that stuff adds up. There are just not many guys in the league outside of like a LeBron James that was able to bring teams, back to back to back finals appearances and make stuff happen. Or for the Heat, just deep runs. They didn't make the finals every year. So your other question was, can you get a good return for Jimmy now? And I guess my answer would be, you have to get something for him. To let a guy walk for nothing, for a team that is not going to do well in free agency, because I don't think there's anyone out there next year who they can grab who's coming here. They're not, and even as constructed, they're going to be very close. Like they're not going to have, even if Jimmy coming off the books, they're not even going to have the cap room to get someone super significant with the other crappy contracts they have on the team. So you have to get something for him, whether it's just like maybe you get an expiring piece back, a young player, and a pick or two. That's worth it at this point because you waited too long. We discussed this for a while. They should have traded him probably after they lost to the Nuggets. That was kind of a good closure on this chapter. And they've just been slow, the whole team. And the guys just seem tired of each other. It's like, I think the third quarters are a referendum of the team. Like they can come out for half a game and look great and be up by 12, 13 points. And coming out of the locker room, they've looked at each other and they're like, I'm tired of this. And it shows. And I feel like it shows with Spo. And the front office every year being like, this is it. LJ's been kind of saying that, Tyler's been playing well. Royal, you admitted that Tyler's our best player, which I couldn't believe I heard from you. Also, Miss Cleo was a fraud, by the way, so I thought that was funny. But I just think that everyone's just kind of, we're at this weird place where like Tyler can play well and it doesn't necessarily matter because his game doesn't make everyone around him better. Even an efficient hero is all about what is it doing for hero, right? So even if you're saying, wow, he's done a lot better, he's getting to the hoop at a better rate, he's taking more 3-pointers, he's kind of eliminated that mid-range game it's just an inefficient style of play. There's very few guys these days that are, kings of the mid-range. And so he's playing the way you want him to play, but he's not good enough to impact the whole based on everybody else around him. And I think we're just at that point where it's similar where Jimmy's kind of doing the same thing. Like we're not getting what we need from these guys, right? So Jimmy's not doing enough with what they expect from him based on his contract, but I don't know what else we want from him. Bam's had a very slow start to the year. That's kind of been something that has happened for a while. Spo finally played Ware yesterday. Play that guy. Who the hell cares? Like, this is not going to be a good team. Best case scenario, we're middle of the pack. Let some of the young guys play. And what's the worst case scenario? They play well, and then you have an option to move them or make, Like, not letting them playing Thomas Bryant is a joke. Also, I want to say one thing because I thought about it as Royal was saying how bad Josh Richardson has been. Why in the fucking world are we giving these guys player options? What is the point? If the guy plays well, he's going to opt out and be somebody else somewhere else next year, or he'll just get the minimum at a higher rate because the cap goes up every season. You're the only time it'll work for the player is when they stink, and then they'll take the option because there's no other choice, a la Josh Richardson, who got his shoulder split in two last year and was like, well, I guess I'll just stay in Miami and take my player option, which shouldn't exist. Why are we doing that? And then we got lucky, and Thomas Bryant opted out of the player option, and we were like, come on, brother, come back. Come on, man. We still need you and want you. I can't. It's hard to watch the team and not see. Royal was very mature and said he's going with, he's flowing with the water. Whereas I think of everything I hate about this team on every possession, on every play. It boils, it bubbles up like boiling hot scalding water, if you will, to the top of the surface. I get so mad because that what could have been, what we could be, feels so far away now. Especially when you turn on other games and you watch other teams and you're like, this is...
I think that's why I'm in my Zen-like state, is because what once felt so close, it just feels so far away now. We felt like we were on the cusp of making a legitimate contender out of this build. Like the year we had the 1 seed or whatever, we could have traded Duncan Robinson for potentially a Jeremy Grant and like made some sense of that build. Like we've had opportunities and that felt close. And now it doesn't feel like that. So I don't feel anything. Like I feel nothing. Even like the Giannis thing, which I know is the next topic. I'm sorry, LJ, that I am hosting for you. So I'll throw it to you about this first. The Giannis thing feels absurd to me to even like invest any faith in. But guess what? I want to fucking do it. Why? Why not? Why not? I'm familiar with the letdown feeling already.
Well, I can't be hurt any more than I was hurt by the Dame thing. So it's like whatever happens with Giannis is like, cool, man. I don't care. Does he get traded to Brooklyn? Fuck it. Go rot away in Brooklyn. That doesn't matter to me. I don't care. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. I've been hurt so many times. I'm numb. And everything that Harry said, for those just listening on the podcast and not watching on YouTube, he's wearing a Miami Dolphins jacket. So that man means what he says when he talks about watching a team and hating himself every 5 seconds. Believe the man when he tells you something.
I am downtrodden. I am a beaten man. I don't have a lot left. That's it. That's all we got, Royal. That's it. But I get invited to games and I'm scared to go because I'm like, oh no. Like even though I've been to 2 wins, I'm doing okay. But yeah, there's not. It's basically Hurricanes and Florida Panthers down here, man. There's not a lot else going on well in sports, and the worst part about the Heat is that they've done it to themselves. There's not like they can't look around and like, oh no, we got like, they could argue they got unlucky in the bubble, but that was the point where they should have realized they weren't good enough, and there were so many different paths that they could have went, so many different directions they could have gone, and they sat on their hands, they sat on their laurels, and they have nothing to show for, what's arguably been a successful Jimmy Butler run here, but nothing that they wanted and nothing that they should have accomplished. This is a team that, if built properly, should have won a championship, should have been competing for multiple championships. And when we look back, when people are real with themselves, when they're not, smoking the Kool-Aid and lying to themselves to get through another adventure of Heat basketball, which is not even an adventure anymore. It's boring slop. I'm sorry, Eric Reed. Boring slop. Then they'll realize that these were missed opportunities.
They remind me a lot of.
Eric Reed has been bad at his job this year too, so he gets smoked too. That kabam, it needs to go.
I mean, we've only been able to say it twice in 7 games, so it's no. He's on the same clip as last year, so it really doesn't matter when you think about averages. But the Heat remind me a lot. I want to relate it to what everyone has kind of experienced before in their own lives. You know that dream you have when you're running and you're not moving anywhere. Like you're the hallway. You're running down a hallway, and the hallway just keeps stretching. You start right at the door. The Heat were right there to open the door and get the championship. They keep running, but they're not going anywhere. And that door is getting further away. And they remind me a lot of the New Jersey Nets from the early 2000s that made that crazy trip to the finals against the Lakers, got smoked, and then made no moves to adjust themselves better. They let Jason Kidd get old. They let him leave back to Dallas. Like they went and said, let's go get what at the time seemed like a downsided Vince Carter before he completely rejuvenated his game and completely changed it around. But like that's kind of the vibe that I get from it. It's a team that just sat on their hands and said, "Damn, we're pretty close. Let's see if we can do that again." And then, the Heat did do it again by getting to the finals, and then they still lost again because they made no moves. They said, "Gabe Vincent, here's more minutes. Max Strus, here's more minutes. Is this enough? Can the Winter Soldier save us from shooting 0 for 25 in the finals? No, he couldn't. Oh well." But you wanted to add something?
Yeah, a lot like the fan base. I think what the front office did was they used the results to justify the process. Like that is kind of where that's where the discourse between us and a lot of Heat Nation comes from, is that they're coming to us like this is a results-oriented business, yes. But you cannot say that because we got these results, that means that our process is good. The process for the Miami Heat from top to bottom, like even Spo at this point, like his process is fucked. Like that's where we at with this season, whereas like the process of building the team was fucked, the process of coaching this team is fucked, and the process of playing with this unit is fucked. Like it feels like Jimmy Butler and Bam, while they weren't the best in terms of like connecting as a duo, it feels like it's gotten worse. Like it feels like they're further away, to use that same analogy, it feels like they're further away from the goal than when they first fucking started. Like, and that's kind of like the problem with this unit is like everything they do to fix it only seems to enhance the problems and make it worse. And they're not addressing kind of what the core issue of this is, which is that the shit don't work, blow it the fuck up, and then start over.
But Royal, that's a really good point, because we've noticed their entire careers together that Jimmy and Bam are not the best offensive fit together, and they never have been. But the Heat have done nothing to make that fit easier for them, like to bring in pieces that make sense around them. I think in almost a very similar, like a team that had issues but brought in guys, is unfortunately like the championship Celtics. I don't know if people always thought that Brown and Tatum could be your like two best guys on a championship team, but they brought in so many guys around them that it didn't matter. That's not even the question anymore.
The Bucks did it too. Right after losing to the Heat in the bubble, what'd they do?
And they were willing to give up core pieces to make it happen. Like They gave up Marcus Smart to make this team a championship team.
Yeah, and it wasn't even like were fans upset? Was he of course, but the goal is to win. The goal is not to have the most likable team or likable players. The goal is to win. And if you see that a guy can be used to make the team better, that always has to be the goal. And fans will argue. I remember I got into a lot of arguments on Twitter about how, oh wait, the Heat are spending money now. Like they're spending money now because they've spent it poorly, because they've overpaid everybody on the roster. So yes, now they're stuck paying the tax because they've done such a poor job of both extending guys who shouldn't have been extended, extending them at a price they shouldn't have been paid, and then having an owner that's not willing to pay to make the mistakes go away. So those three things add together, and you're in purgatory. I know people get mad at the word, they get mad. That's where they are. They're going to keep trotting out this team, telling you they can do it because they got to the finals twice. Mind you, they got their asses kicked. Like, even the Lakers in the bubble, we obviously had injuries, but besides a Herculean Jimmy Butler effort in Game 5, they're losing in 5 games, right? And they got and obviously everything that Jimmy did in 5, they had nothing left in Game 6 in the bubble. I mean, that was not a good game. They got blown out. And then the Nuggets kicked us 8 different ways. That was disgusting. And no, it seems like the Heat are a team that should have learned a lesson, and they never do. And I don't think they ever will. There's nothing to show you that Spo is realizing that he's way too stubborn with his rotations and the guys that he plays. The front office has shown you that they cannot get away from, either not taking the big risk or assuming that an undrafted free agent is going to come in and fill a role. And then the extension of that is that they find the undrafted free agent. They are pretty good for the money you're paying them, and then we can't move them until they leave for nothing or they leave for the absolute minimum. And now they're going to do the same with Jimmy, a guy who came here, was great, put the franchise on his back, was everything they wanted and more. And then it got to a point where you realize, hey, based on what we've done, this isn't going to be enough. Let's get him to a place where he could win or he should win. And let's get something for him, because that's what good teams do. You don't hold on to players until they retire. You move them at the right time to improve the team. And they're not going to do that either. Should they be trading Jimmy before the deadline? Of course. Will they? I have no idea. And if they let him walk for nothing, it's absolute front office malpractice. There's nothing else that it could be. And no one should be arguing with this stuff. They can. Everyone's entitled to their opinion. Some opinions are wrong, and you need to just understand that you're wrong. This is something they need to do. And I don't know how you guys are like watching this. I get the water and everything. This is painful. This is, especially because I've gotten really into hockey since last year, and I'm like splitting season tickets now. What a better game. This is trash. And I'm going to stop. I know this is but I'm tired.
Well, you see here, we have a method. I don't watch all the games. News alert. I don't sit through every single bounce and basket of a Miami Heat adventure. I'll watch the first half. I know what's coming in the third quarter, which is a phenomenal segue to the third quarter that we've seen. We have been joking as a fan base, right? Not just the basement. Every single outlet that covers the Miami Heat joke about this and call it the third quarter because it has been coined as such for half a decade. Because it's a real thing. No one, especially this season, the Heat are dead last, which should surprise nobody. They have blown in every single loss. They have led by 13 to 15 points. And I get with the revolution of the three ball, basketball isn't the same that it was 10 years ago. I'm Unk, blah, blah, blah. I get it. 13-point lead, 15-point lead ain't the same that it used to be. I get that. But last night was just a sweet, a shit meatball of just what the third quarter has been for the Heat, because they came out gangbusters, man, up by 3 at a halftime, punch Phoenix in the mouth, go up 15. You think, damn, Phoenix is having a third quarter. The Miami Heat, your Miami Heat, are the only people in the game of basketball that can build a 15-point lead and lose the 15-point lead in the same fucking quarter. They went to Home Depot and bought the supplies, built the 15-point lead house, and then nuked that shit in the same exact quarter. We're not appreciating that enough. That takes skill. That takes commitment to say, let's lock in for 5 minutes, build this up, beat their ass, and then just put our hands up, put our hands behind our head and say, all right, let's cruise. We don't have 25 more minutes of basketball to play. Fuck it. Let's just sit back. And then they blow the lead. And then, yeah, they had a good fourth quarter again. But it doesn't matter because Terry Rozier on a possession down 3 is going to throw it into the paint to Jimmy Butler, down uno, dos, tres, and say, oh, Jimmy, can you hit a step back with 2 seconds on the clock, please? And then Jimmy passes the ball to a player named Tyler Hero who's currently standing out of bounds, because that's the Miami Heat experience. And that's not even – I want to send it back over to Royal now because I want to know – me and Harry have talked about this a lot off camera. Spo is a much bigger problem than a lot of people want to admit. Because you said it earlier, Royal, it's a what have you done for me lately league. Spo has been a bad regular season coach for 3 years. The last time he was a good regular season coach was the number 1 seed year when he was phenomenal. Then he was great in those playoffs, was bad in the regular season next year, Hall of Fame legendary in that playoff run, and then he's been bad ever since because his rotations make no sense. Last night, he did a really good move, though it was classic Spo. He made an adjustment and said, Jovic, get out. Highsmith, in. And it worked. And the third quarter didn't look disgusting. The offense was flowing. Sure, they blew the 15-point lead, but again, that's modern basketball. They didn't look terrible while it was happening. They tied in the third quarter. They didn't get blown out by 20, which is crazy that that's where the bar is, but that's where the bar is. So without my rambling, how do you feel about Spo? Do you agree that he's not been up to snuff the last couple of years?
So first, I want to say that I find it hilarious that sitting next to the two oldest members of the basement, you called yourself Unc. Like that.
That calls me that a lot. I get sucked into the narrative.
It's insane work. Going back to Spoto, I agree. Maybe not on like past couple of seasons. Like I think at a certain point, like Spo kind of gave up on this shit too. Like you can't keep giving me, but also like I think for the past 2 years, I've been more critical of Spo. Whereas I'm not only like taking like his on-court coaching, like looked at it a little bit sideways, but it's also like this roster construction. Spo is culpable in a lot of this shit, bro. He's responsible for Duncan Robinson being here. He's responsible for Josh Richardson being here. He's responsible for Drew Smith getting his contract on his roster. Like Spo, when I say the front office in terms of roster construction, Spo is a part of that. So like he gets whatever piece of the pie you want to assign him in that regard. Like I give him a portion of that blame too. But speaking specifically to what he's doing on the coaching, like rotations have always been an issue between Spo and the fan base. This year, it feels like more of an issue because whereas you feel like he should be tighter because there's less talent on this roster, like you should be tighter with the guys that you're playing, he feels like he's just getting more loose. Like there's no consistency to like what guys are playing next to each other. And I know he does this experimental thing like throughout the course of a season, but you're dropping games like quickly, and your schedule is going to get harder quickly. Like one of the keys to this season was making sure that they kind of like survive this early stretch in order to like, weather the storm that is coming. He hasn't done that well, and he hasn't managed that well. I don't think he knows where he wants to go with that second unit. I think he has a hodgepodge of like players that kind of all do the same thing, and at this point, he can't figure out how to separate their minutes. I think part of the reason that you saw Haywood Highsmith start the second half was because of that. Like, there needs to be like I think Jovic is about to get kicked out of the rotation. Like I think that's where that's headed, and that's going to be a way to kind of make some of these other pieces fit. But it also presents a problem that we know all too well, where we're now starting an undersized four. Like so, like again, it seems like with every year we try and fix something, and we just get further and further away from the damn goal. Like so like I blame Spo partially, but another part is like. What do we expect him to do? Like he doesn't have the talent to compete with upper echelon teams, and we can't expect him to perform miracles year in, year out. Like that shit's over with, bro. Like get this man a real team and then let him coach that. But like these past 2 years, I will admit, like it ain't been his best work. But I ain't expecting nobody on this roster to come in like fully engaged, fully fired up about the season. I don't expect that from this roster anymore. So like I can't expect it from Spo.
Before I let Harry go, the only thing I wanted to say was I think I'm mentally scarred from the 11-30, 30-11 season where it's like he made that look incredible. And I think he's got a way more talented team these last couple of years.
Well, no, like he's made the other shit look incredible. Yep. Like he's made shit look incredible. That NBA the two finals runs and the deep runs that everybody like to tout, those were on rosters that on paper were not supposed to be there. Like they were not talented enough to be in the finals in 2020. They were actually on their way to not being in the finals in 2020 pre-COVID. Like they were, it was some rough times ahead.
They were slipping right before the pandemic. Like they were falling apart.
But like some people like to give Bam a pass this year because of like the goodwill that he's built up. Not us. But like I extend some of that to Spo. Spo has built up a lot of goodwill with me. So he's allowed to have an off year or two. And I think we're in the midst of that. I know we're finna throw it to Harry, so I want to make sure that we get to that because I know we're wrapping up soon.
I guess my thought process is people talk a lot about like, oh, they every year they're like, oh, what a deep Heat team, and that's not always helpful. Like having 12 or 13 guys you can play every night is not helpful for a coach. And Spo will spend all season trying to figure it out at the expense of the team. Like you were saying, Royal, like you can't be dropping these games in which you had a great chance to win. Because if at the end of the season you've beaten all the bad teams but lost all the good teams, which has now been a trend dating back to last year as well, and maybe even a little into the season before, no team below a 4 seed is competing anywhere close to a championship. It's just it's happened one time. I believe the Rockets were a 6 seed when they won the finals. Otherwise, you're just not winning. It's statistically difficult to win that many. You're obviously, if you're playing better competition earlier in the playoffs, then that means you're most likely playing more games because the series are going to be longer, which means you need to stay healthier, which means you got to, like, if you're expecting to, play 20 plus games in the postseason, and maybe, I guess it would be 20 something games to win a championship, you have to be at your best. And this Heat team does not put themselves in a position to be doing that. And we know, based on the roster and what's going on, this team does not have a shot. And they're so far away from competing. And while I understand what you're saying, like the team isn't good enough, so why are we blaming Spo? I think it's all part of the same puzzle. The front office has done a shit job in not providing him with the talent needed to win. He, as like the guy who is, I can win with anyone, like LJ was referencing the 11 and 30 season. That's not helpful overall because there's a lot of guys that should have never played minutes on this team and do. Hayward Highsmith is a fine 10th man, but if he's starting for you, if he's playing big minutes, your team is not going to do well. Duncan Robinson, great story in terms of like where he came from and what he's become, to be a NBA rotation player. But the money, time, and resources they've invested into a guy like that and not moved on from him, it's insane. It's actually one of the dumbest things they've ever done. I know I talk about him a lot, but that kind of stuff is stupid. And the Hero thing is a great example. Hero was a good pick as a lottery pick. He has performed well at that spot. There are a lot of guys that come into the league and do not look as comfortable as he did coming in as a rookie. But he's a guy that isn't going to really make your team better. And we knew that. And they extended him to a very large contract when that was not necessary. And so here we are. And you could go up and down the roster and do that with almost every player. And at some point, we're going to look back as everyone else is saying, oh, the Heat are making their run. Oh, Spo's figured it out by March. Oh, look at them climbing. Maybe they'll be a 5 seed, a 4 seed. They're going to be a 7 or 8 seed. They're going to win the play-in game because they piss us off and they don't want the lottery pick. We'll give our pick to OKC. They'll draft someone amazing. We'll lose in the first round. And we'll be having the same discussion next year with an older Hero. Possibly, I hope they don't pay Jimmy, but who the hell knows? A Bam, a guy who they've never brought anyone in to help him. So he still has a lot of the offensive issues that he's had his entire career because they've never brought in a very good point guard to help him. Terry Rozier, who I thought they were bringing in to move either Hero or him later on because I liked his contract. That too. And you're just stuck. And I feel like the team is in quicksand. Like the faster they move, the faster they try to they're just sinking. And they are not a fun team to watch. They're always low on the league pass rankings because who's watching this type of basketball? And I just think I know. And I just think we have to realize that maybe I need to meditate more and take on what Royal was talking about and just let it happen and not get upset about it and slowly sip my whiskey and just let it be because this is trash, and maybe I just have to let the trash consume me because this is who we are, and this is where we are, and I think I might have to just accept it.
Be water, my friend.
I think everyone just listened to Harry come to grips with it in real time. Harry just accepted it like, well, I can't fight it. I'm done trying. I'm done swimming up against the current, man. It's best to just accept it. One of the last things I want to talk about before we close the first episode is Royal did tease it a little bit earlier. I tiptoed around it a little bit, but it's the Giannis Antetokounmpo move. It wouldn't be a Heat podcast if we didn't talk about a trade, right? So here you go, cretins. This is what you wanted to hear. This is why you tuned in. I've seen a lot of people saying the Heat have a really good package for Giannis Antetokounmpo. It includes one Bam Adebayo, and the way I'm with Harry and Royal, I'm done fighting it. I love Bam, but fuck it. Sure, bring me Giannis. I don't care what it costs. Why not? Giannis has touch around the rim. Bam has the worst touch around the rim of any big I think I've ever seen play for the Miami Heat, aside from Joel Anthony. But this isn't a shot at Joel Anthony. He won multiple championships. What I'm saying is, Bam, it drives me insane because he gets so many bunnies every game and he misses them all the time because he pushes the ball, man. Like he doesn't have finesse. It's just way too hard of a shot all the time. He takes bad shots and then it screws over the defense getting back in transition and it bails out the defense. Like last night, what was it? Bradley Beal was on him in the post. He had it, looked at him, and then kicked it out. Take him! Tyler Hero was cooking Bradley Beal's shit last night. Bam! Can't you do it? Please? No, because he's going to turn around and chunk it off the fucking backboard. But I don't understand why Bam's touch around the rim is so pitiful. Why no bag Adebayo is what everyone always used to call him. And then he got a bag, and then he lost. It got robbed. It got stolen. I don't know where it is. But are you guys okay with that theoretical move? Because the Bucks suck. That's why you don't stick your nose in shit where it doesn't belong, right? That's why you don't interfere with other moves, because then you get a player that didn't want to be there, and then he's there, and then he ruins the whole team chemistry. Isn't that funny how that works out? But how do you feel, Harry? How do you feel? Would you trade Bam for Giannis at this point? Because Tyler's a pretty damn good fit. This Tyler Hero is a pretty good fit against that Giannis Antetokounmpo. So how do you feel?
So we're keeping Hero in that scenario?
Include him if you want. I don't care.
Sorry, I was just like that. I was ready to be like, yeah, definitely. And then you said that, and I was like,
I think they would take on Terry and Bam is some of the mock-ups I saw that would.
I mean, listen, if this is how I feel, and I like Bam, and obviously, if I said that Hero is a good draft pick, then obviously Bam is, arguably one of the greatest Heat draft picks ever. So, I'm very happy with Bam, and I'm glad he's on our team. Again, if you can improve the team in any way, you do it. It doesn't matter how much you like the guy. I know he has a house down here. I know he bought his mom a house. I know he's really made Miami his home. You send him to Milwaukee. You buy him a beautiful fur coat. I guess he can probably afford it off, but maybe you go to Burlington or something. You get him a nice coat and you send him on his way. And it shouldn't be much of a thought either. We can objectively admit that Giannis is better. Giannis probably has, 3 to 5 years of his prime left where he can really be a dominant figure. And if you really believe Spo's a great coach, like, let's put an elite athlete in Spo's system and let's get a real offense that works. And let's go. Let's make it happen. So yeah, I don't know if Giannis really wants that. I don't know if he just likes causing trouble. Likes talking a lot. He seems to enjoy that. But yeah, if something like that was real and they say, we want Bam, and you say, and what? What do you need? And you make it happen.
They say, and you say yes, and you shake their hand before
Yes.
you hear what else they want. Royal, what about you? How do you feel about the hypothetical?
Pack his ass up. Look, brother. It's like Eric said. There's little to no thought required for this scenario, in my opinion. Former league MVP, defensive player of the year. Bam's been chasing one of those. He can't even sniff the other one. Like, you gotta look. out of every scenario, trade package scenario, we've done our damnedest to make Bam untouchable. But I think we're at a point with this bill where it's like nobody should be considered untouchable. Everybody should be touchable. Like, yeah. Oh, yeah. Get your notepads,
Stand 10 toes down on it. Come on.
Yeah, but yeah, I feel like everybody on this roster has kind of had an opportunity to kind of like show what they're capable of, prove that they can be a contributor to a championship team. And while Bam has done that, he still has some like hurdles that he has left to cross for us. Like, we've been waiting for Bam to be more aggressive. I'm tired of waiting on that shit too. We've been looking for him to kind of like become more well-rounded offensively. I'm tired of waiting on that shit too. So, you know what I mean? If you have an opportunity to pull a player in like Giannis, you do that. You know what I mean? It'll be sad to see Bam go. Like, I don't think anybody with a mind in this fan base wants Bam to not be on this roster. But it's just kind of like we've seen kind of the extent of what he is as a player now. And one for one, Giannis is an infinitely better player at this stage in their careers. And so you take what's proven. And so, yeah, I'm trading Bam for Giannis. But I prefer to trade Jimmy and Tyler. I prefer to pair Bam with Giannis for one of the greatest defensive backcourts of all time.
You won't see them jack up a 3, though. Doesn't matter. They'll win by 2s. They don't need 3. Who needs 3s?
Yeah. When you got halfback dive as a play in basketball, you don't need we don't need no 3s.
Fullback dive is what it'll be.
Correct. I do think that that'll expedite Bam's kind of shooting process. He's gonna have to stand out there. Like, that lane has to be cleared for Giannis. And so there's that natural thing there too. Like, the dynamic between Bam and Giannis would be awkward if they were to keep him. But like, I just think it makes more sense. It's cleaner if you trade Bam. Giannis is the new hub of your offense. You build around that. And unfortunately, I think if Bam goes, then Tyler does stay.
He would 100% stay, even though I'm 100% on board with what you said too. Is obviously I'd rather Jimmy. And who's to say they don't do both?
Andy
Ellisberg, that's who. He's
because what are you trying to do? You trying to bring back Giannis and Dame? I don't want that. No.
I mean Jimmy elsewhere, like Houston or Golden State. Like, that's still a move they can theoretically do. But if you could trade for Giannis, you're not nuking it like that and saying, Giannis, come to South Beach, baby. Look at all your great teammates. Tyler Hero's just sitting alone.
Now come play with Jalen Green.
Josh Christopher's gonna catch your passes. Here we go. Drew Smith, who?
Really quickly though, of those like Jimmy scenarios, which one interests you more? And this is, I guess, for both of you. Does the Houston scenario or the Golden State scenario, like trade scenario for Jimmy, interest you more?
You're getting better picks from Houston. You're getting a better player in Kuminga probably back from Golden State because you're getting Cam Whitmore.
What if you get Jalen Green? Is Kuminga better than Jalen Green?
I don't believe in the Jalen Green hype at all. I think I think he's worse than Tyler Hero in an efficiency standpoint. I just don't. I don't like his game personally.
Yeah, he is worse than Tyler Hero from an efficiency standpoint, but from a talent perspective, it's not even close.
Oh yeah. He's more talented than Kuminga, but I like Kuminga's game better too. But it depends on who you're sending out, who you're getting back. I like the picks though better from Houston. Golden State is still enticing because it's going to be a low first-round pick, but I mean, it depends if they pull the trigger this year in this upcoming draft. I don't know. I like this draft quite a bit.
So from Golden State, you're probably getting Kuminga and Potts.
Yeah, I would imagine so. Which is, hey, that's the best guard they have on their team. So
yeah. I mean, I guess my thought would be, I think Houston lets you start over a little bit more because you could probably get like Van Vliet's expiring and some picks, and then you'd basically have a decision to make next summer if you could like move Van Vliet's contract for another player. Because I think, again, I don't know if free agency is going to be great for them, but it gives you more flexibility. Golden State would be good, but they'd have to really like those guys because if you're trading for Kuminga, then you're extending Kuminga. And yeah, I'm not sure. If Houston really wanted us to take Green, which I think I don't know if we can even get him now with the extension, but I'd probably try to move him somewhere else. He's not my favorite either, but
I'm okay with a Van Vliet and then a Whitmore and a first or two. I mean, not that you're getting all that, a first and a 2.
Shit, I think Cam Whitmore that fell out of their rotation.
Exactly. Yeah, he's not in there anymore. So it's like he'd be a throw-in at this point.
Yeah.
But that, I mean, unless there's anything else you guys want to talk about, I think we've capped off the very first episode of this season.
They got 50 minutes out of us, brother. That's way more than they deserve.
Yeah.
3 times longer than I wanted to.
I think it's about 48 minutes longer than I wanted to go, but that's okay. That's all right. You guys got to enjoy it. You hadn't seen us since we talked about the Heat winning the Summer League Championship. And you're not going to see us until they win another one. So take care. We love you guys. Harry, I'll stall if you need me to stall to get the video up. I love you guys. Royal loves you. Harry loves you. Take care. Be good people.
Need a stop and a rebound. Fournier for 3. Oh, my.
That was the Random Scrub Heat podcast.